Acting is a lot more real than I think a lot of people think it is. And I definitely was one of those people who thought it was, you go onto stage and you act, and then you come off stage and you wait for a bit, and then you go to your next scene and you act, and then you come off and you wait for a bit. And when you're on stage, you say a line, and then you wait, and the other person says a line. And it was almost like painful when you really think about it. Like that sounds painful to be like, okay, it's almost like a chore. It doesn't have to be a chore. It doesn't have to be something that we have to dread. I mean, if you love something, you should never dread it. But I've realized that acting is a lot more cohesive with like our lives than we all really think, because the reason why these shows and plays are so relatable to human beings is because they're real to them. And it's that suspension of disbelief between the playwright and the audience, the play and the audience, that although they know it's not real, it's not happening, it's not really like those emotions aren't purely 100% real happening right then, that in that moment to the audience that they're real and they're real emotions. And it's beautiful how the actor can portray that, because in essence they're not real. And and that's what acting is all about, is discovering how to portray those moments and those relationships and those emotions as real as you can, so you can affect the audience. And something that really struck me was that it was a lot more simple than we all think it is. That sounds complicated to say, oh my gosh, the pressure's on, like I have to convince these people that what I'm doing is real. And really, you just have to be able to know that you've experienced all these things as well. You're as much a human as the audience is. And bringing yourself down to that level almost brings everything into focus and brings everything clearly, just lays it out on a plate for you. And I definitely am guilty of this, acting in things, putting yourself up on a pedestal because you are the star, you are the person that people have come to see. And now acting is funny because as much as it seems as if, well, for the audience it's very much like directed towards them, because they've come to see the show, they're the supporting, they're what supports the show, the money they bring is the stuff, is like what is the whole purpose of the event. But just over the last couple of months, I've really realized that acting, in a sense, it's strange because, again, as I said, we think of acting as like it's not real because it's acting. But through the course of acting, you really become aware of yourself, because in order to try and be something that you're technically not, because I mean, if you say, for example, I was going to play the psycho killer. I'm not a psycho killer. I'm not. But I need to be so aware of myself in order to like use myself to become like the psycho killer for the part. And I mean that's when the idea of method acting comes in, because there's all these crazy extents that actors go to try and be like certain roles and certain people. And really, if you know who you are, then you can kind of use that as a basis to be somebody else, because at the end of the day, you can come home and know who you are. Because that's the danger, the loss of identity through acting, because you're playing so many people. But really, it's like personal discovery a lot of the time. And especially through the stuff that we've done in the course, I really realized that, it is so necessary to do like all this rolling around, as people call it, on the ground and making strange noises. It's not just that, like these are things that we, I mean, I feel like everyone should do this, because you suddenly, when you get down on the ground and you're rolling around and you move a certain way, and it's like, oh my gosh, what was that? Like, my body doesn't want to move like that. And you realize that, oh my gosh, I need to work on that. And then, you know, certain things that you do, with different people, maybe you're really uncomfortable with like physical touch and you didn't even know that, and that's why, you know, your relationship hasn't been working out, or like, you know, you don't like to deal with confrontation, and when you played a confrontational person in your scene, you started crying because you just didn't know what to do with yourself. And like, these are the things that come up, and you need a strong platform to build any house off of. And it's the same thing with acting. You need a strong sense of self to build anything, any character, any experience, anything off of. And I just feel as though, although it's called acting again, like, it's almost just being, in a sense. It's almost just being you, but like squishing it in different ways and like turning it around and presenting it in a different form. If that makes any sense. And it's funny because acting is so real. It's more real than we all think. Well, good acting is. And it's truthful as well, in the sense that you need to believe what you are saying is truth. It's, again, that suspension of disbelief. The audience cannot begin to believe you if you don't believe it, some part of yourself. And so, for example, we play that bullshit game. Oh, not bullshit game. It's really just like a bullshit thing because it's true. And when you say your lines and you don't believe it, and you're just like, bullshit. Like, I don't believe you. And being an actor is sometimes frustrating because it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm saying the line, I'm doing my work, like I'm doing it right. And it's like, well, do you believe it? Do you believe what you're saying is real? Like, are you really that psycho killer? Are you really that crazy mom? Are you really that person? And if you were in that situation trying to do what you wanted to happen, or you're trying to get that reaction from the other character, you need to believe it's real in real time. And that's why acting is so relevant to life, because like, how would this happen in real time in real life? And for example, like Seamus and Lucas's scene, I remember Seamus was being like that, the husband who killed his wife because she was mentally ill and tried to commit suicide, and at first, he was like, she's dead, she's in the basement, she's in the cellar, she's dead, oops, I killed her, and I felt as though it wasn't real. Like, what's the point of the play then? Like, you killed your wife, like, why'd you do it? It was almost like, oops, I wish I didn't do it now, like, I regret it. But when you think about it, if someone were to kill their wife, like someone they loved, they would have to be like, I'm doing this for a reason. And suddenly when Seamus discovered that it was okay for him to be like, I killed her because I needed to, the whole dynamic of the scene changed. And it was compelling because it was so eerie that this guy killed his wife, but I felt why, like, where, when he said that line, like, where were you to Lucas? And it was like, oh my god, like, he killed his wife, and like, he had to, because she was just like dying from the inside out, and he just had to put her out of her misery. And it was, and it was real, and it was truth. And I can use myself as a fine example right now, because you may have noticed through this video that I've been talking in somewhat of an English accent, and it's actually my real accent, and like, I like think and come home and speak to my family, and I'm from England. But I put up this wall that ever since I was very young coming here, because I thought I was like a strange human being, that I talked differently than everybody else. And I came into this awful habit. And although I can try and be truthful to myself, I feel like that's one thing that I just have to kind of get past, is that that's a barrier that I hold up, and I almost become vulnerable about something truthful, and my accent comes out, and I tried at the beginning to try and talk like I was in class, but then what's the point, you know? How is it believable? How is anything say believable my whole entire life if I am not talking properly, as my dad likes to call it? So that's something again that I've discovered in, you know, the past couple of weeks and just in my life that maybe I should try and work on. But then it's that identity thing that you make for yourself. Humans almost build themselves an identity, and anything that goes against it is like wrong. And again, like I feel as though through this work and through this process, you're really trying to discover what really is your identity. It's not what people say you are. It's not what, you know, you've said you are. It's something that you feel you are. And I almost like to think that like you as yourself is the most important character in the play. And like as long as, again, as I said, is as long as you know you can go many places because you can build off of that platform.